If you've ever gone bass fishing, you know what a spinnerbait is. A spinnerbait is an OG lure. I remember watching so many shows as a child with Hank Parker and Bill Dance and Roland Martin all catching tons of big bass on a spinnerbait. Now, over the years, it seems like the spinnerbait has kind of been put on the back burner with the invention of lures like a chatterbait that have almost taken the place of a spinnerbait. But the thing is that bass never stopped biting a spinnerbait. Us fishermen just stopped fishing it. Now, over the last year or two, you have kind of seen a resurgence of the spinnerbait. A lot more tournament anglers using them on TV and catching a lot of big bass and winning tournaments. But there is one aspect of this lure that you just don't hear a lot of guys talk about. And today, I want to talk about it. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. This video is brought to you by sportsmansoutfitters.com. Sportsman's Outfitters not only has all the rods, reels, line, and tackle that I need as a fisherman, but they also have a lot of hunting gear. And they have also supported this channel for a long time now. They have also recently added a closeout section to their website. So if you want to find the very best deals on fishing and hunting stuff, go check out sportsmansoutfitters.com and you are greatly going to help support the Bass Fishing HQ channel. One of the very first times that I ever remember fishing a spinnerbait was when I was like 12 or 13 years old in my parents' pond in our backyard. Now, I remember picking this particular day to go out and fish a spinnerbait because it was a windy day. And I remember hearing from a lot of the magazines that I read or TV shows that I watched that windy days are great days for fishing a spinnerbait. After fishing a spinnerbait for a pretty good amount of time, I don't remember exactly how long, I just remember that I'd circled this whole 1 acre pond without catching a bass. Now, I knew for a fact that there was a lot of bass in this pond, and so I was pretty much losing a lot of confidence in a spinnerbait when I actually made a bad cast. I went to cast next to the one dock that was in this pond and I made a bad cast. I was like 5 foot off the end of the dock where I really wanted to be right close to that dock. So I decided to just burn that bait back in so that I could make another cast. And lo and behold, as I was burning that bait back to me, bam, a bass came up there and grabbed it. And so I thought it was kind of just a fluke thing, but I decided to go ahead and keep fishing. And I started burning that spinnerbait just below the surface of the water. And I literally went around the exact same way that I had just gone without catching a fish. And I remember catching like 3 bass. And it wasn't like I caught 1,000, but it was the difference between catching 0 bass and catching a few during that day. Now, on the complete opposite side of things, I was just fishing a spinnerbait last fall in a big reservoir where if I was not bringing that bait really slow next to wood, I was not getting bit. If I was burning that bait or if I was even going kind of at your regular pace, I would not get bit. I had to slow that spinnerbait way down. So really, with all that being said, I just feel that you don't hear a lot of guys talk about the speed at which you fish a spinnerbait and how important it is to getting bites. Now, there's really 3 main speeds that you can fish a spinnerbait. You can burn it like we just talked about. You can kind of fish it at your normal kind of medium pace. And then you can also slow roll that spinnerbait, barely cranking it, and a lot of times keeping that bait on the bottom. To me, speed is everything. And I've seen not only the examples that I shared with you, but so many other examples where changing up the speed of the exact same spinnerbait will yield a different result and you catching fish and not. Now, obviously, to change the speed of a spinnerbait, you can simply reel a lot faster or reel a lot slower. But there are also a lot of characteristics of the spinnerbait itself that will slightly change the speed here and there. For example, the bigger the blades that you use on a spinnerbait, whether those are willow leaf blades or Colorado blades, those big blades are going to create more drag. So if you have a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait that has big blades and a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait that has kind of your standard blades, that spinnerbait that has those big blades can stay at the same depth, but it can go a lot slower because of the drag of those blades. Now, on the flip side of things, if you put little tiny blades, whether those are willow leaf blades or even Colorado blades, the opposite thing happens. In order to keep that bait at at the same depth that you've been fishing, you have to reel it a lot faster. So changing the blades on your spinnerbait will not only change the flash and vibration, but it will also change the speed of that bait. Now, two of my favorite brands of spinnerbaits on the market include the Booyah Covert series spinnerbait. This spinnerbait was designed by Jason Christie, one of the best spinnerbait bass fishermen in the world, and it comes with a lot of different size blades on this spinnerbait. Having different blade options and sizes really allows you to find the best combination that will help you to bring that spinnerbait at the right speed to catch a lot of fish. Now, another one of my favorite spinnerbait brands is the War Eagle. I think if you know spinnerbaits, you know War Eagle. In my opinion, it's a very simple spinnerbait that just gets the job done. This particular spinnerbait right here is actually a burner spinnerbait. So this one was actually designed to come very fast. It has small willow leaf blades. You can bring it really fast. Now, another thing that will really impact your spinnerbait speed is using a trailer like the one that I have here. Now me personally, I prefer to put a plastic trailer like this actually over putting a trailer hook on most of my baits. I really found that my hookup ratio is a lot better by adding some sort of chunk of plastic on there that really allows the bass to suck that bait in. Now, with that being said, depending on what trailer I like to use is really going to dictate how fast or slow I can bring that spinnerbait. This is one of my favorite trailers right here. It's a Zoom Fat Albert. It's really just a big, thick grub, and it has a lot of bulk to it, which again is going to catch a lot of water. It's going to create a lot of drag, which means that if I put a trailer on this, I can fish that bait slower while keeping it at the same depth. Now, another one of my favorite trailers is just your typical Kitech, your Fat Impact. This doesn't have as much drag to it as a Zoom Fat Albert. So I can actually put this on my spinnerbait and I can bring that bait a lot faster through the water column. Now, if you completely take that plastic trailer off, maybe you just add a trailer hook to that bait, then that bait is going to come a lot quicker through the water column. For example, if I am fishing for smallmouth bass, a lot of times I am burning that bait, and I don't always like to have a big soft plastic on the end of my spinnerbait. So what I will do a lot of times is I just cut a little piece of plastic right there, as you can see, just a little chunk of plastic, and I stick it on the shank of the hook just like that. This bait now has some bulk for that smallmouth to be able to suck in, but because that plastic is so streamlined and so little, you can still really burn that thing just below the surface of the water. Now, the last thing that is going to impact the speed of your spinnerbait is obviously the weight of the spinnerbait itself. If I have two of the exact same spinnerbaits that have the same size blades on them, but one is a 3/8 ounce and one of them is a 1/2 ounce, that 1/2 ounce weight, in order to keep it at the same level in the water, you have to reel it a lot faster, where you can reel the 3/8 one a lot slower. All in all, I really think that the speed at which you fish your spinnerbait will be the biggest difference between catching bass and not. Now, with that being said, there are a lot of other mistakes that guys make with spinnerbaits. And I actually made a full video right here that talks about all the major spinnerbait mistakes that guys make on a regular basis. If you enjoy this video, I think you will like this one. Please comment below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.